Hey guys! Happy holidays from my little apartment to yours. You know, 2020 has been So when I feel like I am down in the dumps and I'm looking for a little inspiration, I look towards this amazing 1940s cookbook. It's called the Modern Encyclopedia of Cooking, and I think it's from like 1947, 1948 or something like that. But it belonged to my grandma, and I know she used this book quite frequently. I'm really excited because I love looking through it. They have the most like bizarre recipes ever, you know, lots of weird foods. Just food from the past, and it just brings me so much joy to look through it. I was flipping through it the other night and I saw a recipe for peppermint cream brownies. I mean, how incredibly appropriate is that for right now? And it sounds delicious, and Christmas is in like a few days, and I would like to just bake with you guys and just go through the book and bake together and see what we come up with. Hopefully something delicious, and I'm sure it will be just that because it's peppermint brownies. So for the recipe, you're gonna need two 8-inch square pans and I lined them with parchment paper and sprayed them with nonstick cooking spray, because we are gonna divide the batter into two pans and then sandwich the brownies in between the peppermint like buttercream. It's gonna be awesome. All right, right here we're gonna need 2/3 cup of all-purpose flour. We are gonna need 3/4 cup of sugar, 2 eggs. We're gonna need 1/3 cup of softened room temperature butter, or 5 tablespoons. This is about 2 ounces of melted, unsweetened chocolate. So I use that Baker's brand chocolate, the unsweetened chocolate, and I melted it in the microwave for about 1 minute and 30 seconds and gave it a good stir. Right here we got 1/2 cup of toasted chopped walnuts. This is 1/2 cup of raisins, and I chopped them up a little bit so they wouldn't be just big chunks of raisins throughout the brownies, because that seems a little weird to me. So yeah, got a little bit of vanilla extract, about 1/2 teaspoon, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and then we're gonna need 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, and this is a tablespoon of some milk. In the book it says make sure your oven is preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit so that it's ready for the brownies to go right in the oven and bake. So we got that. In the book it says to sift the flour and re-sift 3 times with baking powder and salt. 3 times. Listen, I love sifting. I think that is amazing, and I can't believe it says to do it 3 times. I'm gonna measure out my flour and dunk it in, and I take a little knife or offset spatula, just level it out. And I'm gonna go, I have a piece of parchment laid down and my sifter, so there's 1 and 2. That is 2/3 cup of all-purpose flour. And then I'm gonna measure out the baking powder, which when you're making brownies, you really don't need that much leavening at all. So yeah, this only calls for 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder. And then I'm gonna do a little 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Kosher salt, that's what I always use in baking. Using kosher salt is very important. It melts incredibly well into cakes and brownies and stuff like that. So I'm just letting you know. So that's 1. And then I have a bowl right beside me. Put the sifter on here. Oops, sorry. And then it's easy. You pick up that parchment paper, put it in, sift, and now I put the sifter back onto my parchment. This might be a little difficult to do, I don't know. Just do your best you can to put those dry ingredients in there. Sifting can be very important in baking, so don't skip it. It's gonna make an amazing light and fluffy brownie. So now I'm putting all my dry ingredients into my bowl. Actually, I'll set it aside. And I've got the other bowl because we're gonna cream the butter and the sugar now. Whoa! I've got my 5 tablespoons of unsalted room temperature butter. So I got the butter in there. Now I'm gonna measure out 3/4 cups of just good old granulated sugar. 2, 3, sweeten it up. Wanna have some nice brownies sweetened up. So now you take your spatula, and this is how you cream. You just go like that. You just kind of blend, take your time and just blend everything together. So you see how they came together, and that's a nice and fluffy little mass, and that looks good for me. I think that works. Now we have to take our 2 eggs. Make sure they're at room temperature. I took these out a little while ago. 1 and 2. And throw them in the sink. And now it says to whip them up a little bit before we add them in to our mixture. So we got the eggs in there, and now I'm gonna measure out a little 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract. And funny enough, this recipe did not call for vanilla extract, but it would pain me to not add some in when we're making chocolate brownies. It is very, very crucial, I feel, to just make the flavors better, you know? I'm gonna take my little whisk actually and just blend that in. So we want it to come together. Ooh, it already smells so good. See, it comes together like a little batter. It's nice and smooth and incorporated. That's awesome. Now we're gonna add that melted unsweetened chocolate right in. And the reason that we use unsweetened chocolate in this is because the brownies are already sweetened from the sugar that we added in, and plus it's being sandwiched in between that peppermint buttercream, so that's gonna be incredibly sweet. So this is why we use the unsweetened chocolate in this recipe. I assume, you know, I don't know. I think that's why. Now I'm gonna go in there with a spatula and just make sure you scrape from the bottom up and the sides of the bowl, you know the deal. So just like that. Let's see what it says next. Now it says to mix in the dry ingredients and the milk, and then you add the nuts and the raisins. So you're basically just adding everything else. Let's add in that flour, like so. You know what? I'm just gonna add in all together. The raisins and the chopped walnuts. Super easy. And that tablespoon of milk to help kind of bind everything together. I'm kind of just folding it in, and make sure that you just fold or just mix in until you no longer see any more clumps of flour, because we never ever ever want to overmix stuff like this with cakes or brownies or stuff like that. Quick breads, done. So incredibly simple and easy and fast. Now, since we have to divide this into 2 8-inch pans, not 9-inch, make sure it's 8. This isn't a lot of batter to begin with, and we're splitting it up in 2, so I think it's gonna be very thin when it's sandwiched in between. So yeah, some thin brownies, so do the best you can to evenly distribute. If I had, what's it called, a kitchen scale, I would much rather prefer to do that to make sure it's very, very accurate. That's what I would do if I was working at my bakery job, but here we're just gonna eyeball it. It's a low-key night. We're just going with it, guys. That's all we can do. Just scrape it off. Yeah, this is really, like, not that much batter. Just level it out. Awesome. And now we're gonna place this into the preheated 350-degree oven for about, it says 20 minutes. So at 20 minutes, I'm gonna check it. It should, you know, if you put a toothpick in the center and little crumbs come out, then it's done. And your skewer shouldn't have a lot of batter when it comes out. It should just have little tiny chocolate crumbs, and then you know it's done. So let's place them in the oven and see you back when it's done. So while the brownies are baking in the oven, this is the perfect time to whip up the peppermint buttercream to spread in between the brownies. So This seems simple enough. What you're gonna need is just a cup of some powdered sugar. You're gonna need 1 tablespoon of unsalted softened butter. Got 2 tablespoons of hot milk. Yeah, hot milk. And an eighth of a teaspoon of some peppermint extract to get the peppermint flavor. I'm gonna measure out just with my finger. Just a cup of powdered sugar. There we go, right in the bowl. And then we're gonna add the butter. Ooh, it's really softened. And it says to cream the butter and the sugar, so just like we did before. That's what I'm gonna do here. So, I put this milk into the microwave until it was piping hot. It's actually scorching my hands. Awesome, cool. And now we're gonna put in that, I can't speak, the pure peppermint extract. So it says an eighth of a teaspoon, so that would be half of this quarter teaspoon. So there we go, that's a very tiny amount. This is gonna be an extremely thin layer of buttercream sandwiched in between thin brownies. It smells amazing. I'm actually gonna give it a little taste. So there you have it, your peppermint glaze. The brownies are still baking, so we're just gonna set this aside and then I will show you what it looks like when we're ready to sandwich them together. Okay guys, so I let my brownies cook for 20 minutes exactly. I took it out and let them cool on a wire rack for about an hour or until they were completely cool. And now it is time to sandwich them together. Take 1 layer of the brownie and lay it down flat like that. So I turn it upside down. All right, and then it's not very specific, but I guess you just pour it on like so. I have my little offset spatula. Oh, the peppermint smells so nice. Sorry, it's kind of hard to not get the brownie to break. It's kind of starting to break apart because it's so fresh. Go all around. See how it's just a very, very nice thin layer of icing. And totally optional, but since it is the holiday season, I thought it'd be very fun to sprinkle on some green and of course some red. Ah, looks like Christmas! That is very exciting. And now ever so carefully, the top layer on this one is like breaking so much. Like so. Okay, so I just sandwiched them together and well, ideally you would want to let this set up a little bit, but it's kind of late here and I kind of don't care. So I'm just gonna slice just like that. We'll do 3 like that, turn it around. Look how cute. Look how cute. Oh. Look at that, it's a brownie sandwich. Just leave me alone. Just go away. I just want to eat this in like private. Perfect hint of like dark chocolate, but not overly sweet. You get the texture coming through from the chunks of the walnuts. You can taste a little bit of the raisins. And this peppermint glaze in between just ties it all together. So this screams Christmas. It really does. Guys, I can't even speak. Like I have to make this every year now during the holidays. This is fan-freaking-tastic. You know what I mean. Guys, thank you so much for spending a little time with me tonight. I know 2020 sucks, but we'll get there. Just in due time, patience. Stay safe and make some of these peppermint cream brownies. These are a classic. They are phenomenal. I don't know why I haven't even heard of these before until reading this book, but I am so glad I took the time to read this book. And there are more recipes to come. Thank you so much for supporting my channel. happy holidays to you, and catch you later.
When we're married, we'll go down to cook.